It's the John Phillips Show. Johnny's on vacation, so it's Randy Wang here. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number, 1-800-222-5222. You can always email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com and search for the John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. Right now, we're going to Santa Monica because the Santa Monica City Council has a novel new idea how to revitalize the 3rd Street Promenade, which 10 years ago was the shining jewel of the city, a beautiful outdoor mall with restaurants and bars and shopping. People felt safe to take their kids there. Now there's a lot of vacancies, a lot of crime, and a lot of homelessness. But don't you worry, the Santa Monica City Council believes the way to fix 3rd Street Promenade is to create an entertainment zone where people can open container or carry booze everywhere. Yeah, that'll do it. Joining us to speak to us about this is the co-founder of the Santa Monica Coalition, John Alle. Welcome back to the John Phillips Show.
Hi, Randy. Fantastic to be with you.
John, is open container drinking really the silver bullet to solve the problems at 3rd Street Promenade in Santa Monica?
No. We were objective. We went out and analyzed the pros and cons, and we spoke directly with the retailers and their employees. We also spoke to residents these last 2 weeks whose business we're trying to draw back to downtown. 86% aren't coming. Sales are flat. Retail walk-in theft is still high. So we spoke to retailers, boutiques, managers, supervisors, even their directors of real estate. Some were Foot Locker, Adidas, Sephora. We even spoke to the managers of the Apple store. Their corporation owns their land, but they couldn't answer. But we spoke to their customers leaving the store and their guards who were 100% against the idea. Santa Monica, we don't feel, should create an environment for people to drink as early as 8 o'clock in the morning. None of the stores are even open until 11. So what kind of person wants to drink at 8 o'clock in the morning unless they're an alcoholic or an underage youth who thinks that somehow this is like some kind of good idea or fun? We think it's very problematic for Santa Monica in terms of safety and more violence. We'd be facing incidents of abuse of drugs, vandalism, crime. It's never a good idea trying to attract problems. And Santa Monica wants to call itself an endless spring break with this enterprise zone. But, where women are going to show off their boobs, hookers are there, lots of drugs, but it's insanity, we think, for a residential community like Santa Monica that attracts tourists from all over the world, supposed to be high class, good restaurants, gorgeous views, to turn into a heap of trash. And that's what we think it would do. And we think comedians, great street performers, a whole lineup of stores that have different kinds of creative arts, expressions for people to come out and plan a night out, listen outside with a glass of wine, or beer or two, watch whatever they want. But this walking from store to store, when we could have great restaurants that would offer the same thing inside the restaurants, is ridiculous, we think. And we the city is very interesting. The city council members and the former mayor and the current mayor who are promoting this are always great, recalling the good old days when they were growing up as kids and how they used to ride their bikes or meet up with their friends on the promenade. But these same council members proposing the idea would never allow their kids on the promenade with this.
Well, no, they want to turn it into Bourbon Street, which is bizarre because I guess I understand they want to pivot away from what they grew up with, because right now anyone that knows what's going on in places like the 3rd Street Promenade, it's the last place you want to bring your kids after a small child was attacked by a homeless person on the promenade just a year or two ago.
And there have been more since, as recently as the last few days, adults being clobbered. It should be at 8 o'clock in the morning, I'm seeing employees clean up and move people from their storefronts that are on meth. So can you imagine these people going into bars, newly created bars, and hanging out all day with drinks in their hands? And we're forgetting, many of us, we're the 13th of the 100 most dangerous cities in California, and that's based on FBI violent crime data. We're more dangerous in San Francisco, Southgate, or even Inglewood. That's, a statistics that will hit with everybody. 550 aggravated assaults per 100,000 residents annually. That's 500 assaults based on a population of just 87,000. And that's unacceptable. And I think we're overlooking all of that by going ahead with this without further discussion and maybe limiting the hours to evening, not 8 o'clock in the morning, not even 11 o'clock in the morning. The stores don't open until 11 or 12. We've got 5 to 6 people dying every week on the promenade, the alleyways, the garages, and the parking lots from drug-related overdoses and assaults. So I wonder how many more assaults we would get. We don't think this is the right approach. We think safety is. If we create a safe Santa Monica, a safe city, we have more police presence, the people will come. But, our mayor and her council, some of them are the equivalent of police abolitionists. And it's not helping because residents like to see police. That's what we heard for the last 2 weeks, going out and speaking to people. Ambassadors, security officers, they really can't fend for themselves. And really, Randy, all they are homeless moving service companies. That's all they are. They end up calling the police. And, we've got a shortage of dispatchers. The police do their best, but there aren't enough of them. Like everybody else, we've got a shortage.
We're speaking to John Alle, who is the co-founder of the Santa Monica Coalition. He was the guy a couple years ago that bought those billboards that said Santa Monica is not safe. You can follow him on Twitter, John_Alle, A-L-L-E. John, one of the things that your organization has talked about for years now is part of the destruction of Santa Monica all goes back to LA County Public Health Director Barbara Ferrer and her county-sponsored needle exchange and paraphernalia passing out programs that are in the parks in Santa Monica that are also right next to places like the 3rd Street Promenade. I'm understanding that you guys have taken her to court over this.
Yes, we've taken Barbara Ferrer, the LA County Board of Public Health, and the Venice Family Clinic, who's a third-party contractor, to court. We had our first hearing yesterday, and we'll see what happens in the coming days. But we're going to pursue this, whether it's decided on whether it's good for state law or not, or whether it's following state law. We're going to focus and keep hammering away on whether it's good for the city. And the sad thing is, our CEO of downtown Santa Monica and our former mayor and our former city manager hid this from us for 2 years. This program of distributing needles started, of all places, on the 3rd Street Promenade. And it grew to the parks, the 7-Eleven on Wilshire, across from Reed Park. Reed Park is across from a Catholic parochial school, senior living facility. And those same parks, the police are called on average 8 times a day. That's unacceptable. We're not going to debate Barbara Ferrer, even though she says it's not scientific. She doesn't have evidence. It's method-based. It's her opinion. She wants to keep it going. She's got 4 supervisors that back her up. But we want her to move it out of the parks. We've got over 70% of residents who rent. They live in apartments or townhouses. So those parks are their backyards. Take the parks away, you've got a problem. We've got kids that have stepped on needles. They're not even following the rules of distributing needles. They're not there is no exchange. Let's put it that way. It's a distribution. There's no pickup. There are no cans. There are no cleanups. And we all know they're given one or two, plus foil, plus meth pipe. And they usually all share it. They sit in a circle. They share the same one. And they sell the other or trade it for more drugs. So it's getting worse, and that's making the city worse. It's scaring people away. When you've got 86% of residents who are the backbone of Santa Monica that are going elsewhere to shop and dine, we've got a problem, a big problem, because the sales tax funds goes into our general fund. That funds our police, fire, and paramedics. So without that, we're in bad shape. The hotels are doing very poorly. Their vacancy is up. So even though, and the city depends on that hotel bed tax. So we're not faring very well.
Well, and on top of all that, the international community is well aware of the problems in Santa Monica because the city of Santa Monica will not be hosting any events for the upcoming Olympics in 2028. They had beach volleyball in the 80s, and they're not getting that this year.
No, they're not getting it. It would be very unsafe, frankly. I think before we do that, we should have a travel advisory to let people know what they're getting into when they rent a hotel room on Ocean Avenue, walk across street on Ocean Avenue, walk into Palisades Park overlooking the bluffs, see people lighting up, see people shooting up, and acting out. I mean, we've got restaurant owners that call me every day saying that they're bombarded by people coming in, robbing, stealing food, peeing on the ground, just destroying what could be and what will be. We're going to make it a great atmosphere again. But we have to focus first on public safety. If we have public safety, everything else, we believe, will fall into place.
We're speaking with John Alle, who's the co-founder of the Santa Monica Coalition. Now, John, you're not just a huge advocate for what's going on in Santa Monica, but for a whole bunch of different parts of Los Angeles, specifically the businesses that are struggling near MacArthur Park in Los Angeles. Karen Bass notably had a press conference a few weeks ago touting a huge reduction in crime in MacArthur Park, and I very audibly heard you heckling her about it.
Well, I was there. And my tenant, Norm Langer, from the great deli, Langer's Delicatessen, was told it was going to be at a different place and a different time, and it was changed from actually MacArthur Park to Rampart Station, right across the street from another building that we manage and own. And I frankly told her that had she had the press conference in MacArthur Park, she could have gotten killed. It's that dangerous. Every night there are 5 to 15 ankle-height fires, people cooking meth, especially in this pretty good weather. It's cooler now, but it's good weather, so they're out. She put up fencing on one side of the street. It's closed down 3 or 4 businesses, and the vendors, who are all illegal, have just gone to the other side of the street or a few blocks further east. Our police department, our LAPD, is just too few, unfortunately. And they're not even backing the fire department, the firefighters who are going in and putting out fires from drugs and treating overdoses. We've got 3 gangs there. And, I've been told, don't mention gangs. Call it organized crime. But we got to call it like it is. Because when I'm hiring workers to paint out tagging and graffiti that say MS-13 and 18th Street Gang and Crips, it's a problem. And we've got sidewalk landlords. Those aren't landlords that own buildings. Those are landlords that own sidewalks and charge vendors for selling the right to sell stolen goods. And the warehouses are right on Alvarado, which is right across from MacArthur Park, clear as day. And the mayor has not wanted to identify this. We've got a city councilwoman there, Eunice Hernandez, DSA, Democratic Socialist, she definitely does not like police. She's a police abolitionist. She claims there are people going in with harm reduction, with condoms, and trying to treat them for psychological problems. There are no such people going in the parks. They would be killed. It's the most dangerous park. And it's very sad there. Within 1 square mile, there are 45,000 people residing there. And they don't have cars. Unfortunately, they don't have cars. They have to walk. That metro station, people from Santa Monica, the transients from Santa Monica get on that metro station. They get their drugs. They take the last stop to Santa Monica at 4th and Colorado. They walk into downtown, and they can sell their drugs for 3 times the profit. It's another world, but it's something we have to deal with. And we've been working with Tracy Park. We've been working with anyone who will listen to us. Tracy Park's drawn a lot of attention to this and is trying to help us. But we've got a mayor and we've got a council in Santa Monica that is not putting public safety first. They'll say clean and safe, but it isn't. And Unisys has a tougher problem. I mean, we have buildings that are boarded up in MacArthur Park. We have Unisys corrected me in that press conference. I thought that there were 5 to 6 people dying a day of overdose. She said, no, John, it's 7.
Yeah, it went up. It's 7. It's unbelievable. John, we're out of time, but I'm so glad that you came on, and I continue to thank you for all of your advocacy, for helping out Santa Monica, putting a light on this, putting a light on what's going on in MacArthur Park. You can follow John at Twitter at John_Alle, A-L-L-E, and join the Santa Monica Coalition, and you'll see videos every day of what's going on down there. John, thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you, Randy.
If you'd like to email us, you could do so at johnnydontlikeshow@gmail.com. Will writes in and says, nothing will make the filthy, stained sidewalks and alleyways of the 3rd Street Promenade shine brighter than gallons of vomit from all the extra drunks staggering around with the junkies already staggering around. Another example of why lunatics shouldn't be in charge of the asylum. Will, that was the cleanest email you've sent in days. I appreciate it. Mike in Fullerton writes in and says, I've worked off and on in Santa Monica over the years. It's a pit. Some of the government employees have dealt with are moronic asshats. I came back into the office in Orange County one day and told my boss, I am never working in Santa Monica again, ever. I can't help but get giddy in that crappy movie 2020 where Santa Monica slides into the ocean to my cheers. Oh, my goodness. You know, it is fascinating, depending on where you listen to this show, how you digest the entertainment. Because if you live in Los Angeles County, if you live in a place like Oakland, it's terrifying, and you want to know what we can do to fix this. But you live in Orange County, it's kind of like watching Married with Children, where you're just constantly thankful that that's not your life. Hey, if you ever miss an episode of the show, get the podcast. Search for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. Listen to us. Otherwise, you're going to have to do what I'm listening to on the way home today. The Radio Abundance Podcast with Rob Bonta and Robert Garcia.
In Topanga.
I got to stop doing this. Let's go to Craig listening in Sacramento. Craig, hello.
Hey, how are you?
Doing great.
Show.
Thank you.
Good. So, quick comment. You know, I keep hearing this reference to all these people that are living on the streets, these drug addicts, the mentally ill as homeless. I find that waters down the real issue out there, because referring to them as homeless kind of infers that these guys were burned out of their homes during a wildfire in Northern California, something of that sort. So why is it that even the politicians and, you know, news specials keep referring to these people as homeless when they're really not?
Oh, it's worse than that, Craig. In Los Angeles, the Los Angeles Homeless Services Authority put out a guidebook for local news that you can't even say homeless because that's offensive. What they want you to say is either unhoused neighbor or person experiencing homelessness. They actually put out a style sheet for that.
But then you might as well go to the other extreme and say, like myself, I'm Ferrari-less. right? I mean, it just doesn't make a whole lot of sense in order to solve an issue that's everywhere, basically, in every major U.S. city. And I feel that we keep throwing money at this problem like gasoline on a fire, trying to put it out, and it's enriching these do-gooders on the sidelines, but it's not helping anyone.
The number has only gone up in the last 10 years, and in the state we have spent $25 billion on the problem, and we have no idea where any of that money went. That is not how government's supposed to work.
Agree 100%. And I think the other issue is that a lot of people just don't understand the difference between $1 million and $1 billion, right? They just glaze over. They're like, yeah, whatever. I'm not paying that. It's the government is paying that, when it's actually either taxpayer dollars or just getting wasted.
Well, and you look at all the city budgets, whether it's in the state of California, but the big cities, Sacramento, San Francisco, Oakland, Los Angeles, San Diego, they're all experiencing huge budget shortfalls where they're going to have to make layoffs and cut essential services. But the one budget none of these cities want to touch is the billions of dollars that cities and counties are spending on solving homelessness. It's a money pit.
Exactly. But somebody's getting rich doing it. And I'd be curious to know who those people are, because I'm in the wrong line of work then.
Oh, we all are, Craig, for sure. If you were a homeless services provider, you could afford that Ferrari.
That's true. Hey, just wanted to put my 2 cents in. Great show, great interviews. Love listening to this.
Well, thanks so much for calling in, Craig. Call us back anytime. That 810 signal, that covers like the entire northern half of the state. We are so happy to be on KSFO. We love it. We also love being on KABC. And we've been told the KABC signal goes all the way from San Diego on a good day to Santa Barbara. So we're covering as much of the state as we can. And, of course, anybody else can listen online at KABC.com or KSFO.com and get the podcast by searching for The John Phillips Show. Well, one of the other side effects of an ever-worsening homelessness problem in a city like San Francisco is when you have rampant open-air drug markets, you also have rampant theft in places like pharmacies. And eventually, the pharmacies start losing a lot of business, not only because of the blight and the fear of people walking in and seeing rampant thieving, but you get to a situation like we have seen in San Francisco where they start locking up the frozen pizza and the ice cream with chains. That has led to a lot of closures of Walgreens. And now, in the Mission, there's only one Walgreens left, the only major pharmacy in that neighborhood in San Francisco. And if you thought pharmacies were awful when there's one every street, it's getting pretty miserable to pick up your prescription in the Mission. For more, here is ABC 7 in the Bay Area.
Residents in San Francisco's Mission neighborhood are growing increasingly frustrated as wait times at their local Walgreens pharmacy continue to increase. This is after a number of other Walgreens were shut down across.
I'm lucky enough to live in a place where there are a lot of pharmacies. But that being said, when I go to Rite Aid, used to be called Thrifties, and I am picking up my prescriptions or my wife's prescriptions, it feels like the longest time in my life. It always feels like the seventh circle of hell. Pharmacies move incredibly slow. I can only imagine what it's like when you're the only game left in town.
This is after a number of other Walgreens were shut down across the city, making...
And I'm not blaming the pharmacists. That's a really hard job. I don't know how you type so small.
This is after a number of other Walgreens were shut down across the city, making one location the last remaining retail pharmacy in the neighborhood. ABC 7 News reporter Tim Johns talked to customers about the impact it's having on their lives.
A long line greets customers at the pharmacy at the Walgreens on 23rd and Mission in San Francisco Thursday. This is the result of a series of store closures by Walgreens in this neighborhood in recent years. That means this location is the only one that remains open in the area. The company has closed more than 24 stores in the city since 2020, increasing wait.
24. In fact, I believe the statistic is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a CVS that closed in San Francisco last week, and it was the 64th pharmacy closure in the city of San Francisco since 2019. And I know, and I'm the first one to say, that city is back on the upswing, but these are some problems that are going to take a really long time to fix. And unfortunately, when you've got one pharmacy left in an entire neighborhood in the Mission, that's a lot of people that have to suffer to pick up their prescriptions.
Increasing wait times and decreasing service for many who rely on it. I talked with several Walgreens customers outside the store here, and all of them told me they're frustrated with the situation. But with few options, many of them also feel like they're stuck. That includes people like Donald Hughes.
It's outrageous, man. Like, you sitting there for 20, 30 minutes, 15, 20 minutes in line just to get to the front desk. And when you get to the front desk, they got you on a 45-minute to an hour-long wait just to get your medication.
Yeah, that is always bothersome. You know what? They should have the thing ready to go before you go down there. You shouldn't have to go in, wait in line, put something in, then wait again. The doctor should call it straight into the pharmacy, and they don't tell you about it till it's ready to be picked up. But when they're that overwhelmed, it's going to be bad.
Hughes tells me he lives closer to another Walgreens that recently shut down, so now this is the next closest option.
For the people that live in this community and need these pharmacies to get their medication, now we got to come in and we're slowing their process down. It's messed up.
In a statement sent to ABC 7 News, Walgreens told us, quote, "We have and are continuing to take steps at that location to reduce wait times. That includes adding equipment, providing additional personnel, and working extra hours."
Hopefully they're not closing, because then where's everyone going to go?
The neighborhood frustrations have also gotten the attention of Supervisor Jackie Fielder.
That's why I called for one of our city agencies to come up with a report for how we can stand up basically a cooperative organization and structure to support our local independent pharmacies.
But with wait times long.
There we go. Yeah, let's prop up the neighborhood pharmacies. You don't have to get your prescription picked up at a Walgreens or a CVS, but some people feel more comfortable there. I don't know.
But with wait times long virtually every day, current customers say they want immediate solutions.
I have my medicine is every month, and if it expires, I need to come here to spend days. I need to order first, and then I come next day to get it.
Walgreens says as of now, they have no plans to close down the 23rd and Mission store. In San Francisco, Tim Johns, ABC 7 News.
Pharmacies in California, and I'm sure in places like Chicago they're bad too, but pharmacies in California are so depressing because everything in the store is locked up.
How ghetto does it look that they have to lock up the socks?
There's maybe, outside of the pharmacist, one employee in the entire store, so God help you if you want to buy something else besides your prescription. If you want to go to Rite Aid for the thrifty ice cream, good luck, because the person that's dealing with the 5 customers in line is also the ice cream person. So if he's got to stop serving them to go get you a scoop of chocolate malted crunch, you're going to have a lot of people giving you dagger eyes. It's just not a pleasant experience right now. 800-222-5222 is the telephone number. Before we go to break, let's go to Dale in Long Beach. Dale, hello.
Hey, Randy, the Fifties by my house closed down. Crime was so terrible.
Not surprised.
Karen Bass and all the public officials in City Hall and all the department heads should immediately take a 10% pay cut as a good faith gesture towards all the people that are about to lose their jobs.
Oh, I think they should take a 50%. You know how much these people make? Ulysses is making $220K a year. Hugo is making $220K a year. And according to our friend Daniel Gus, he still lives in a rent control building.
Yeah, and so does the Karen Bass. Doesn't she live in the free mayor's mansion?
We should turn that into homeless housing. The people of Hancock Park would love that. Now, here's what's interesting, Dale. Earlier this week, Karen Bass was asked by a constituent if she'd take a pay cut, and this is what she said.
Can I get a picture?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, are you going to be taking a pay cut to help the budget?
Absolutely.
You are? What percentage?
Well, we don't know. We'll have to see. Thank you.
So Karen Bass says, will you take a pay cut? Absolutely. How much? I don't know.
10% would be a good start, and she should, by all rights. I'm sure it wouldn't break her. I mean, come on, really?
I don't want to see cuts to police. I don't want to see cuts to firefighters or people that are fixing the streets. But for these bureaucrats and these city staffers and the members of the city council, her deputy mayors, they all should be taking huge pay cuts. I also think, and this might be a little novel, but all the ones that have allowances for cars that are funded by the city or drivers, they should all have to take LA Metro.
Well, I was thinking we shouldn't pay for their cars anymore, burning up the gas to their house, and we pay for their car, and that's ridiculous.
I think we got a lot of creative
money.
We got a lot of creative ways to save money, Dale. Thanks so much for the call, buddy. Appreciate it. Johnny is on vacation. He's going to be enjoying a lot of Jimmy Buffett Fridays. Well, he's going to be gone this Friday and next Friday. He'll be back a week from Monday. But it's Randy, and I'm going to be here every single day. That being said, if you're craving some inappropriate jokes from John Phillips, you can always get the podcast of this show by searching for The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts, whether that's the Apple Podcast app, iHeart, Spotify. Search for The John Phillips Show. Hit subscribe. You can download all the episodes. You could do, as George Gascon likes to do,
Google on YouTube.
Or you can get one of the apps, KABC app, KSFO app. You get The John Phillips Show there. If you want to hear more of me, I do a local show every single day at 5 o'clock on 790 KABC called The News Blitz. You could search for the KABC News Blitz with Randy Wang if you'd like to give that a listen for all our listeners in the Bay Area that want to hear a little more local flavor of the insanity that goes on in Los Angeles. Let's go to the phones, 800-222-5222, and go to Ken in Covina. Ken, hello.
Hey, Randy, how are you? I was just listening to what you said earlier about Karen Bass and the LA City Council, all these people taking a pay cut. And it reminded me when we went to Arlington National Cemetery, the house that's on there is Robert E. Lee's house. And he used to be a general for the Union Army and switched sides. So when he came back from the war, they started putting all the soldiers that died in the war buried around his house as a reminder. It's what I was just thinking about. Karen Bass, all these people, I mean, they're responsible for all these people losing their jobs. So maybe a pay cut would be the way to remind them of the cost of their stupid decisions and stupid use of funds.
I think you're totally right. I think they all should be taking at least a 50% pay cut because they're overpaid to begin with. The city council is an entry-level job in politics, and they get paid $220,000 a year. That's more than Congress. That's more than the United States Senate. It used to be more than the presidency.
Well, we can't bury people around their houses, but I like the idea somebody had a while ago about letting the homeless camp in their front and backyards. Maybe that'd be just as good.
Oh, I think we should definitely be encouraging that. They don't want to do anything about the squatters that are taking over homes in Hollywood. Why don't we send the squatters to Hugo's apartment, to Ulysses' house, to Isabel's house, and to Karen Bass's house that's paid for with your tax dollars?
That'd be great. Maybe somebody could have instead of star maps, they can have maps to their houses where they can go and do those things.
There you go. We'll have a big old bus tour. Ken, thank you so much for the call. Appreciate it. Now, one of the stories that we talked about this week that ended up having a last-minute change in decision was the Oakland Unified Strike. OUSD says they were going to strike, and then all of a sudden, they came out with a last-minute decision to all of a sudden not lay off all the teachers that they said they had to lay off with money that now they don't have. For more, here's ABC 7.
Let's begin today in the East Bay, where a planned teacher strike in Oakland has been called off.
The May Day strike was canceled following a last-minute deal between the district and teachers union. ABC 7 News reporter Ansar Hassan with more on today's new developments.
On Thursday, students and teachers will be in class in Oakland.
It's just a really critical time of year. We're, entering into state testing, LPAC testing, the end of the year. It was very critical to avert the strike.
Oakland Unified School District President Jennifer Brohard says the agreement...
Gotta love that name, Brohard.
The agreement was reached late Wednesday morning and stops a one-day teacher strike planned for Thursday.
And this was like the teachers union saying, hey, show us the books. You're not really broke. And Oakland Unified was like, no, we're broke.
The job action threatened after the union sought but did not receive information related to the 2025-2026 school year budget cuts.
Unions have the right to ask for that information, and I think sometimes there's just a lot of work going on why that information didn't get passed on in timely a manner as the union felt it should.
The teachers union says the agreement means more than 120 high school teachers and substitutes won't lose their jobs.
And this is what the unions and the district were able to come to agreement on.
I don't understand how this works. The district needed all these layoffs because they refused to close schools for years, but now all of a sudden they have the money to avoid these layoffs?
Was reinstating some of those positions.
The teachers union was not available for an interview, but in a statement, OEA President Kampala Ransiford says this outcome reflects the power of educators standing together against cuts harmful to our goal of retaining experienced teachers in Oakland's hardest to staff classrooms.
We have a big problem with our school board now and how they've been colluding with the teacher union's leadership.
Oh, okay. I know what's going on here. See, it's not that Oakland Unified is broke, because they are. It's that they've decided to cut a deal with the teachers unions to spend money they don't have and go insolvent. Because obviously, if a school district's about to go bankrupt, they'll get bailed out from the state.
School board member Mike Hutchinson has concerns about how it'll be paid for. He says the jobs the district voted to fund are outside the current teacher's contract and don't have an identifiable funding source.
This is the plan. Increase the budget to the point where it has to get bailed out by the state, because nobody is going to let a school district go bankrupt in the state of California. Well, that's all the time that we have today. Thank you all so much for listening to the show. If you ever miss an episode, go to The John Phillips Show wherever you get your podcasts. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you back here Monday at noon for another episode of The John Phillips Show.